Hindu law section 9. What is restoration of conjugal rights? Meaning of restoration of conjugal rights. The restoration of conjugal rights means the re-establishment of the marital relationship between husband and wife, because the prime objective of marriage is that parties will consummate it and enjoy the society and comfort of each other. The idea of providing the restitution decree by a court is to preserve the marriage union as far as possible by enabling the courts to intervene between the parties. Availability of restitution of conjugal rights. In India, the remedy of restitution is available to Hindus under Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, to Muslims under the general law, to Christians under Section 32 and 33 of the Indian Divorce Act 1869, the Parsi under Section 36 of the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1936, and under Section 22 of the Special Marriage Act 1954 for persons married under the Special Marriage Act. Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955. Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955 talks about the restitution of conjugal rights. It states that first, when either the husband or the wife, second, without any reasonable excuse, withdraws from the society of others, third, then the aggrieved party may apply by petition to the district court for restitution of conjugal rights. Fourth, and if the court satisfies with the truth of the statement made in the petitions and found that there is no legal ground to reject the petitions, then the court may issue a decree of restitution of conjugal rights. Accordingly, essential elements of restitution of conjugal rights. The essential elements of Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, restitution of conjugal rights, are as follows. First, there must be a valid marriage that exists between the parties. Second, one should withdraw from the society of another. Third, this withdrawal must be made without any reasonable excuse. Fourth, the court must satisfy the truth of the statement that no legal ground exists for refusing the decree. Who may apply for a decree of restitution? It is to be noted that any of the spouses can file the petition for restitution under Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act. The apply of discord in Section 9 is the word withdraw from society and reasonable excuse. The terms are not here defined, but through several pronouncements, the judiciary states what will be included under these terms. Now, let us see some judgments that highlight the terms withdraw from society and reasonable excuse. Section 9 of Hindu Marriage Act, some cases law. In Sushila Bai vs. Prem Narayan Roy in 1985, the court pointed out that if the husband left his wife in her father's home and did not maintain any connections with her, then it will be considered as withdrawing from the society of his wife, and thus decree for restitution was allowed. In Tirat Kaur vs. Kirpal Singh Air 1996, the questions before the Punjab and Haryana High Court was whether wife's employment can be considered a reasonable excuse to leave husband's society and stay away from him. The court applied the traditional approach and held that the wife's employment is not a reasonable excuse. The court further said that the wife's first duty is to submit herself to her husband and remain under his roof and protection. Again, in Gaya vs. Bhagwati, year 1965, the Madhya Pradesh High Court held that under Hindu society, the wife should perform matrimonial responsibility or obligations under the husband's house, and she cannot take any unilateral decisions. Case in Shanti Devi vs. Ramesh Chandra, year 1969, the Allahabad High Court took a progressive approach. It held that during the hardship of employment, if the wife withdraws from her husband's company, then this withdrawal is considered a valid withdrawal and comes under the clout of reasonable excuse. Thus, no decree for restitution was allowed. What is a reasonable excuse under Section 9 of a Hindu Marriage Act? Generally, the term reasonable excuse includes the ground on which the party can get matrimonial relief. Second, if the party is guilty of any matrimonial misconduct, but that misconduct does not form any ground for divorce under Section 13 of the Hindu Marriage Act. Still, that misconduct is grave and weighty, this may also be considered a reasonable excuse. Third, if the party is guilty of any conjugal act या omissions या misconduct that makes the situation not fit for the other party to live with each other. Constitutional validity of Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act in 1955. T. Saritha vs. T. Venkata Subbai, year 1983, in the Andhra Pradesh High Court. It was argued that Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act was against the individual's fundamental right to liberty and dignity guaranteed by Article 21. The Andhra Pradesh High Court held that Section 9 was unconstitutional and void because it was against personal liberty. The court said that if the wife is compelled to live with her husband, this will also violate her right to privacy. Further, the court also highlighted that the remedy of restitution offends the inviolability of the body and mind and invades the marital privacy and domestic intimacies of such person. Second case, Saroj Rani vs. Sudarshan Kumar Chandra, year 1984 SC. In Saroj Rani vs. Sudarshan Kumar Chandra, its Supreme Court finally resolved the tussle between Section 9 of Fundamental Rights. The Supreme Court upheld the view put forth by the Delhi High Court in Harvinder Kaur vs. Harvinder Singh, year 1984 Delhi High Court, and held that the object of the decree was only the offer and inducement for the spouse to live together, and it does not force an unwilling wife to engage in sexual relationships with the husband. The remedy of restitution only aims to protect the institution of marriage, and it does not violate the principles enshrined under Article 14, 19, and 21 of the Indian Constitution. The court further said that the remedy of restitution did not enforce sexual intercourses between the spouse, but it only brings consortium between them. Consortium in law means the right of association and companionships with one's husband or wife.